So Harry, pre-season is sort of drawing to a close now, and we look to build towards the new season. What's been going on around the club off the field, firstly?
Yeah, so we've had look, we've been in a year. The four of us have been involved in the club since sort of July last year. Obviously, a lot has changed. You can see those changes around the pitch, and there's been a lot of hard work that's gone in, not just from the four of us, but there's so many different people associated with the club who've done an incredible job over the last 12 months in order to get the club up to the standard it's at right now. We look at, and we talk about it all the time, but we look at digital scoreboard, we look at the stand that we're sat in, the pitch side railings, we've got a tunnel going in this week, we've got a new fan zone over there, we've got new toilets. All of this stuff costs money, but also it costs time in order for people to get involved, to make it happen, because you can't just throw money at a problem. It's about making people happy at the same time and making people do things. So that's been a major focus for us in this off season. I think also we obviously create loads of content, so it's about understanding exactly what worked last year, what we can do better this year, understand what people want to see from a non-league club that is obviously trying to challenge this year for the title. Last season was a learning season, and yeah, we feel like we've learned quite a lot in order to take it forward into this year.
Yeah, you mentioned there that we're more or less exactly 12 months on from when we probably first walked through the doors here at Farnham. What would you say is the biggest thing you've learned in that time?
I think there's a lot more politics in non-league football than I ever anticipated. There certainly people are out to get you. I thought this was like everybody talked about non-league football as like this beautiful community, and I think we've seen some amazing examples of that in a good way over the last year. Even if I think about the Badshot League game where everybody came together, we had 1,200 people here, huge amount of kids, families. We massively over-index on female attendance, which is fantastic. And so the community came together there for a local derby, which was brilliant. And then the cup final again. So we've seen some great examples of community coming together and multiple teams like pushing for the same goal of pushing non-league forward in general. But there's just so much more politics and people backstabbing and hating on different things. And I think we obviously build ourselves up a bit more than other clubs. Other clubs like to kind of fly below the radar a bit, which is fine. We've come into it with a sort of idea of getting ourselves out there, building a brand for Farnham Town as a club, which obviously makes people hopefully want to come down and watch or be involved. And therefore my learning, I suppose, is just you've got to ignore the haters a bit, which is such a cliche thing, but you just kind of, if you're focused in on what you genuinely believe is the right thing to do, then you just need to double down on it. And that's one thing that we've become very, very good at as a group of people involved in the club. We've just blocked out the noise and gone, we believe this is the right thing to do in the long term. It might not be the right thing to do this week because we might get loads of abuse when we launch a pink kit and we lose at home 3-1 and we get absolutely battered online. But we sell hundreds of those pink kits over the course of the season, generate revenue and huge amount of brand awareness from that sponsorship. So I think all these different things, add up over time. But yeah, the politics is the thing that shocked me when we were getting involved that I just did not consider.
You mentioned how tricky it has been to sort of navigate our way through the haters. When people come into football clubs, the first thing that people want to do is throw money at the playing staff. That isn't something that you particularly did or this club did when new people came into the club last summer. Why did you take that approach, and what have you done differently?
I think the first thing to say is we're not claiming to be a victim or even kind of go woe is us. Like, we're in a very, very fortunate position as a club. We've got a load of volunteers, we have money. There's no hiding from that. We've got money and we're trying to use it in the right ways. And we've got a very talented management team and playing team that hopefully can compete. But for us, the structure and why we wanted to get involved is because we wanted to create a genuine legacy for the community. I grew up in Farnham. I went to school in Farnham. I played for Farnham Town. I know we've repeated that time and time again, but that also means that I have a genuine perspective to build something in the town, and we've seen kind of the like early grass shoots of the green shoots of that work, and that hasn't been about building the best playing squad last season. It was about building all the other bits that came with it, that if we managed to put a run together on the pitch, we'd kind of galvanise everything together. But we knew we had to get the infrastructure right so that when we did galvanise on the pitch, we could deal with it off the pitch. And there was so much work that needed to be done in order to do that. And I think it's the right way to do it. I think you need to build infrastructure, you need to build things that can handle success. And like I said, there's no denying that we're looking for success this year. That can come in many different forms, but for us off the pitch, success is still about building that average attendance, making sure people have a great time. The focus for us when we came in was about building the best match day experience in non-league, and that still remains the focus. It's not about going through the leagues and promoting. Everyone asks me that question, why are you doing this? What's actually the goal? The goal is for us to have fun. This is a hobby. It's a hobby for most of the players that play on the pitch every Saturday across the whole league. So having fun is really, really important, and sometimes people forget that, which comes back to the politics. But also, it's about building something for the future, and something that the town can be really, really proud of, because Farnham is traditionally a rugby town. More people over the course of the last 20 years have gone to the Farnham Rugby Club than they have Farnham Football Club. Now that table is turning, and that's a very proud thing that everybody at this club can share. And hopefully this season we will get more people come through the gate at Farnham Town every week than Farnham Rugby Club do. So those things are moving in the right direction, but all of those things are possible because when people come once to Farnham Town, they come twice, 3 times, 4 times, because the experience is good. And those things are only getting enhanced with every new change that we make at the ground, but also things that we do off the pitch, like the content, hopefully keeps people engaged in the moments where they aren't at Farnham Town. So I think one thing that clubs get very wrong at our level is they just expect people to remember what happened on Saturday or Tuesday night and plan their week around going to a club in the league, and that's just not how it works. Like, you've got to keep them engaged throughout the week in order for people to spend 3, 4, 5 hours down at your club on a Saturday afternoon, which is key family time. And then therefore you should try and make the club as good a place it possibly can for the whole family, and that's what I said earlier around the fact we skew massively in under 16s and in female attendance, because that's really important to getting people through the gate, getting people to actually come down.
A lot of people online like to focus on the money aspect of the club and sort of claim to derive that all of our success is from that. What would you tell those people?
I think I'd say there is 100% a money correlation to success in non-league, and you can accelerate success in non-league with money. And love and time and energy didn't pay for the stand, and it didn't pay for the new toilets, and it didn't pay for the pitch side railings. That's just not how it works. But there are things that you can do as a non-league club that require no money, and that we've done in the last year. And I don't just mean the 4 of us who've got involved in the last year, but also Ed and Paul and loads of other people who've kind of pulled together to build the community. Little things like I make sure I talk to every fan who's here every week, because it makes a difference. Like those, people want to talk about the team and they're informed about what's happening around the league, and having those conversations is really important, and understanding, taking that feedback on from them and what we can do to improve, but also getting out to the schools, getting out to the local community, making sure they know about what we're doing free entry or reduced entry, because actually we find that people spend the same amount of money if we put on a £8 entry or a free entry. It's the same. It's just people spend the same per head. So all of those things are free mechanics. It doesn't require any money to do those things. And our under 16 attendance or under 18 attendance was something that I was really, really keen to do or expand over the last year. And Ed has done an incredible job in that last 12 months in order to push the schools. And I think with this year we'll give out like 10,000 free tickets to local schools, because we want them here, and I want them for the next 10 years to be Farnham fans. And if we can build that relationship with the local community, again, they come in for free, it costs us nothing, and they come in here and spend money at the food, at the bar, And at the merch, they buy the shirts because under 25s prefer to buy shirts, scarves, hats, all these things. That's how we generate money. And lots of people think that it's just massively been backed by me, by somebody else. But the reality is we do very well as a club, sustainably, with the amount of money that people spend on the bar, the amount of shirts we sell, the amount of food that we sell on a match day. Like, all these things actually drive a load of revenue, way more revenue than we probably even gave it credit for when we were running the numbers before we came in.
The media stuff that we do off the pitch, the non-league diaries and everything else that we have done came under quite a lot of scrutiny last season from people that potentially weren't as in tune with that sort of thing.
Yeah.
What benefits do you think that has given the club, and how do you look to develop that moving forward?
Yeah, so first and foremost, Jack and Elliot now, who's joined the team, from a content perspective, have done an incredible job in the last 12 months in order to create what I believe to be, one of the best non-league products out there when you're watching. And that story that we can tell, we were very, very lucky towards the end of the season. We had a great story to tell. We kind of had this middle section, which is quite difficult because we had to latch on to different plot lines and storylines, and people want to watch something be super successful, or they want to watch it be like really hard. And there were times where it was generating a lot of viewership and a lot of engagement off the back of us having a really, really tough time. And at the end of the season, it was generating a lot of viewership because we were doing really well, and we obviously won the cup in the last game with 1,500 people watching it live online and 1,200 people in the ground. When it comes to the content, it's about that engagement throughout the week. What can we do in order to make people engaged? What can we do in order to remind people that being at Farnham Town's fun? What can we do to make better relationships between fans and players, so that when people come and watch, they understand who's playing and and the personalities off the pitch? Because little things like the cricket we did last week on the pitch, like those things are fun. And again, it comes back to that politics or hatred of other things around it versus actually having like a good time. This isn't Premier League football. This is the 9th tier of English football. This is about having fun, playing football on a Saturday and a Tuesday and enjoying it. And that's why, Owen Dean's done so well in the last year, because he's actually come here and he's just waved at me. That's why I'm thinking about him. But he spent last season enjoying his football as an 18, 19-year-old kid, and had an amazing, amazing moment in the cup final, scoring his hat-trick, and that relationship with the fans was really, really good. And I think lots of people will have exactly the same this season in the squad, and building that relationship with the fans, because the fans are so good.
Yeah, on the football, because we are a football club, and there is a massive aspect to the club that we aren't really talking about so far, and that is on the pitch. Last summer, when sort of we and you came into the club, there was probably a misinterpretation from people outside the club that we wanted to fast track our way through the leagues. Promotion last season was not something that we were looking at or even considering.
I think especially because of the lack of playoffs. I think this season it changes that slightly because of the playoffs. So you do have the top 5.
But this season, obviously, there's no beating around the bush. There is a significant push on the playing side. There's a much more enhanced squad than last season, and the expectations with that have changed. How do you go about managing that and working with the coaches and the management staff and the directors at the club to sort of achieve that?
Yeah, for me, the playing side isn't where my expertise lies. We brought Jono and Jimmy in because they've got huge pedigree. They've got promotions in their pockets. They've got cup wins, and they also delivered exactly what they said they were going to do last season, which is really important to me. I built a business with off the back of integrity and doing what we said we're going to do, and that's kind of what these boys came in and they said that they would come in. It would be a really tough 8-10 weeks transitioning between the old squad and the squad they wanted to finish the season, and then the last 10 games we'd do our best to go on a run, and if we're still in a cup we'd have a good go at it. It's exactly what we did. We went 12 games unbeaten, I think 10 of those in the league, and we didn't really lose an away game under Jono and Jimmy, and we won the cup. So we want to leave those guys to kind of do what they do on the pitch. I think again we're in a very fortunate position because lots of clubs, and for people who are watching this interview from other clubs at our level, maybe step 4, management teams, quite a lot of the time, run the club, because there isn't a huge support network, there isn't a huge volunteer network, and maybe there isn't input from above in the same way as maybe we have. So from my perspective, we will deal with the stuff off the pitch, we will raise the brand of the club, the profile of the club, make it exciting for players to come and play here, make those conversations easier for Jono when he wants to sign players. But ultimately, you know, what we do on the pitch is totally up to them, and taking that responsibility of them having to worry about off the pitch means that they can 100% focus on the pitch stuff and make it happen, and be held totally accountable to the success and failure that we have on the pitch, because they don't have to worry about anything else.
I guess our roles this season, basically fans really, when the football comes around.
Absolutely. And I'm a dreadful fan. Like I have incredible anxiety when I'm watching Farnham Town for no real reason, because it doesn't really matter.
We've been there for every pre-season game so far and watched how this new team has gelled and developed. As a fan, what are you most looking forward to from what you've seen so far?
As a fan, I think I'm looking forward to the style of play that we're gonna, judging off the four pre-season games. I think the style of play is radically different to where we saw any Step 5 team really play last season. I think probably the closest to it is how Walton Hersham played in Step 5 and in Step 4 last season. Kind of, they would knock it about. A lot of really good ball players. But look, I'm here to enjoy it, and hopefully we have more wins than losses this year, and we have a settled squad. And I think that's probably the thing I'm most excited about. Last season, we turn up on Saturdays, some weeks, and we had no idea, as fans, who was going to be there. And we had so many centre-back partnerships, centre-midfield partnerships. Like, you just had no idea whether or not someone was here to play 1 game, 5 games, 10 games, 20 games, whether they were filling in for that week, whatever. That it was just crap, where we've got 17 players, we kind of know where we're going to be. We know they're all incredibly talented. They're all coming here to fulfil a role, and have a very, very clear expectations about what they want to get out of being at Farnham this year. And now it's about them going and delivering on that. But as a fan, it's hopefully going to be a lot of fun. And I'm excited to be amongst what is now a larger fan group to enjoy that happen on the pitch.
And I guess to finish up, we're not naive here. We know there's going to be a lot of eyeballs on us, largely through the things that we're doing on the pitch and off the pitch. But if you were speaking to fans of the club, what would you like to tell them ahead of the season?
I like to say, be patient. It doesn't happen overnight. We're not going to win every game. We're not going to go unbeaten, or if we do, it would be incredibly unlikely, and it would be historic. So don't expect things like that. Ignore the noise, because everybody's going to tell us that that's what we should be doing, and we should do this with ease. Ignore all of that. Enjoy it for what it is. We've got some incredibly talented footballers on the pitch. We should win a good handful of games. Be right up there competing. That's the goal. Hopefully go on a cup run, but off the pitch, continue to see development of the ground, the content, and everything that comes with being a part of the Farnham Town community. And it should be a really, really good year to be involved with Farnham. Last year was a lot of fun. We progressed a long way. This year is about pushing us even further.
Lovely. Well, I'm sure we'll catch up later in the season.
Lovely. That was a joy. That was a joy to do.